What's up, everybody? It is fight week and the glorious sphere is finally upon us. And while this card has received quite a bit of criticism, I think that this is going to be a very fun event, right? I think that the sphere, obviously we've heard Dana White and all the different things. He's been over-promising a lot of things recently, but I do think that this is going to be a very cool experience. I think that this is going to be a unique event. The problem is, this card is not as stacked as maybe we would like to see it for a card on Mexican Independence Day, as they are going to be competing with Canelo Alvarez in a boxing event that evening. However, it's the UFC at the end of the day, man, and I still think that this event is going to do very well. But it is time for me to give my predictions along with a breakdown for every single fight on this card. We will start with the early prelims, working our way up to the main event. And it's kind of interesting because there is only 10 fights on this card. We normally have about 12, so a couple fights short. Let's hop right into this thing. Starting off with our very first fight of the evening between Raul Rosas Jr. and Aoriqileng. Now, I'm going to go Raul Rosas Jr. to get this thing done, right? This is a guy that I have been very high on. I know a lot of us have been very high on Raul Rosas. This is a dude that is growing up in the UFC right before our very eyes. He came onto the Contender Series at only 17 years of age. I mean, that is incredible. I can't imagine being in high school and walking around being like, you know what, man, I'm in the UFC. Like, that is absolutely crazy. So this dude, you know, he faced a little bit of adversity. He's won 4 out of his last 5. Now, in the middle there, he suffered a little bit of an L, but I think that was a huge learning experience for Raul, because what we see often with a lot of these young guys on the rise, these prospects, is they face a veteran with experience and they get tested. And when they get tested, it's the gas tank, it's the, the cardio, the pace, it's a little bit of everything, not so much the skill, but, the gas tank. And what we've seen from Raul Rosas is he has some things to work on, and he went back to the drawing board. He corrected those things. I think that Raul, he's really coming into his own, man. He's got good striking. That is definitely something that has really stood out to me, is his striking has continuously improved. We know he has outstanding grappling. He's got really good submissions, and his gas tank has been much better over his past few fights, and that is very important because, like I said, prospects, a way to expose them, drag them in the deep water, make it a little bit uncomfortable, and from what we've seen, Raul Rosas, not only did he go back to the drawing board and work on, the gas tank, did he work on the striking and get better, but he physically looks the best that he has ever looked in his career, no homo. Just coming into his own, 19 years of age. I mean, when you're 17, just imagine when you're in high school, just a couple years, the difference, of those couple years. He's physically at his best. I think that Raul Rosas is going to put on a spectacular performance. And look, Aoriqileng, he's won 3 out of his last 5. 1 a no contest, 1 was an L, but this he's well-rounded. But again, I find it hard to believe that the UFC is going to give Raul a dangerous, it's a dangerous matchup because it's a fight here, but I think that the UFC, obviously, starting the show with Raul at the Sphere, this is a big moment for Raul. This is about building Raul Rosas Jr. I don't think that they would put him in too vulnerable of a scenario. I think Raul gets this thing done. Moving up the card now, we have Edgar Chairez and Joshua Van. And this was supposed to be Kevin Borjas and Edgar Chairez. And if I'm Edgar, I'm like, damn it, I wish I had the previous matchup. Not because Kevin Borjas is a bad fighter, but I think Joshua Van, he's someone that I've been very high on inside the flyweight division, and I am going to go with Joshua Van to get this done. I originally was going to go with Edgar if his last opponent had stayed on the books, but Joshua Van, look, he's a damn good fighter, and I know he's coming off of that loss to Charles Johnson where he got finished in the 3rd round, and that kind of, that worried me a little bit because I saw Van take this fight, and I'm like, he just got KO'd a couple months ago in a quick turnaround. But from what we've weirdly seen is we have seen some guys come back from a quick turnaround or after a KO on a quick turnaround, and it doesn't pan out. But we've also seen guys like Alex Pereira come back and look absolutely spectacular. So I don't know how much that's going to impact Joshua Van coming into this fight. I know he's a tiny dude. He doesn't really have to struggle to make 125. So I think in terms of his health, that's going to be very beneficial for him coming into this match. But I think Edgar, obviously, he's a scrapper, man. He's scrappy, he's dangerous. but Joshua Van, I believe, has some of the best boxing in the UFC and definitely inside the flyweight division. I think he gets back on track. You know, that was his first loss in a while there. He had won 4 fights before that coming into this. While I think Edgar's scrappy, I think he's a good fighter. I think he's going to have a lot of energy coming into this, being on Mexican Independence Day. The crowd is probably going to be behind him. I still think Joshua Van is going to come out cautious. He's going to be very patient. He's going to let Edgar fight behind that emotion a little bit to where Van is able to counter, start to work the body and let those hands go. I got Joshua Van getting this one done, but I think that this is going to be a scrap either way here. Okay, moving on. We have Yasmin versus Ketlin Souza. Now, I am going to go Yasmin in this matchup. Now, she's won 4 out of her last 5. She's a heavy favorite coming into this. That's why I'm picking her. I just think she's the better overall fighter here. Look, I think Ketlin Souza, she's won 4 out of her last 5 as well. She's 14-4 coming into this, and I think that she's a good fighter. She's got good jiu-jitsu. Her striking is not bad, but I just think Yasmin overall, she's someone that I've been high on. I think, you know, 25 years of age, coming out of Tijuana, she's got a little bit of the it factor for women's MMA. She's got good striking. She's got submission skills. Like, I think that overall, she has the full package when it comes to mixed martial arts. I think that she has an advantage wherever the fight goes. And I just really see her picking apart Ketlin and getting this one done. I have Yasmin getting this one done. Moving on. We have Manuel Torres versus Ignacio Bahamondes. Now, this is one of my favorite fights on the entire card. When I saw this fight get put together, man, I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if they threw this on the main card. Now, it's not on the main card, but this is definitely the best fight on the prelims, in my opinion. And the reason for that being, we have 2 prospects on the rise that are absolutely outstanding. I really don't want to pick anyone to win this fight, but I do have to give a prediction. And I went back and forth on it. I wasn't as sold as maybe some other people are, but I got to go Manuel Torres to get this thing done. And as much as I want to pick Ignacio Bahamondes because I really like him, I like his team. He's training with Bilal Muhammad. I think he's got a great camp behind him. Manuel Torres is an absolute monster. And that's really what the prediction came down to me for, right? You go through and you look at Ignacio Bahamondes winning 4 out of his last 5. Manuel Torres winning all 5 of his last 5 coming into this. And he's been on an absolute tear. The difference, Manuel Torres is murking people. He's running through people. He's submitting people. He's starching people. He's doing it all. He's a tall guy. He's just got it all, man. He's just a well-rounded fighter. And I think that that's going to give Ignacio some issues coming into this matchup. Now, I will say this. We've seen on the feet that Bahamondes has very good striking. He's got some good kicks, but Manuel Torres, that's where things tend to be a little bit different for me because while I think he's dangerous on the feet and he's got good power, it's the submissions in his back pocket that make me feel very comfortable picking him in this fight because wherever this fight goes, I think Torres is going to be more comfortable, and I think that he is going to dictate the pace of this fight. I think he's going to dictate where this fight takes place. I think he's able to close down Ignacio Bahamondes, take away that space that Ignacio likes to kind of fight at, that long, rangy, keep you at the end of his strikes. I think Manuel Torres is able to get this one done, but either way, I find it hard to believe that this fight goes to the judges' scorecard, so I can very well see Torres getting a finish in this fight. But like I said, this is an outstanding matchup. Moving on. We have Arena Aldana versus Norma Dumont. Now, Arena Aldana is my favorite women's fighter inside of MMA, especially inside the UFC. I think that she's able to get this one done. Now, does she get a finish? I don't know. Either way, this is going to be a fun back and forth matchup because Arena Aldana, you know, I think she's a spectacular fighter. I think that she has the best boxing in all of women's MMA. And then on the other side, you have Norma Dumont, she's a little bit of a decision machine, right? I think we can be honest there. But she does have good submissions. Her striking is improving. She gets a little chaotic at times, which I think is going to be the problem for her in this fight. Because with Arena Aldana, she's got that good boxing high guard. She fights well behind the jab. She mixes things up. Now, the only issue with Arena, she does not know how to address a leg kick. Maybe she solved that issue with a little bit of time away here. I don't know, but she does not check a kick. She doesn't get her leg out of the way. She just eats him and keeps moving forward. So if I'm Norma Dumont, I'm looking to try to beat up that lead leg of Arena Aldana and try to slow her down because if you just sit there and you just box with Arena Aldana, you're going to be in for a long night. And what I thought was actually really interesting here is actually the community on here is favoring Dumont in this matchup, which I think if anyone's getting a finish, it's probably going to be Aldana. And I think that in terms of the points game, I think Arena Aldana is going to be able to put some serious points on the board. I think she's going to work the body. She's going to mix up the combinations. She's patient. She's got good boxing. I think Arena Aldana is able to get this one done. Moving on. We are now on the main card. We have Ronaldo Rodriguez versus Ode Osbourne. Now, I was kind of confused when this matchup was put together on the main card, right? I don't have a problem with this being on the prelims, but as a main card opener, I mean, Ignacio Bahamondes versus Manuel Torres, to me, that should definitely be on the main card over this. The Arena Aldana Norma Dumont fight should probably be on the main card above this, but I want to say this is a interesting matchup, and I am going to go with Ronaldo Rodriguez to get this thing done, winning all 5 out of his last 5. Ode Osbourne only winning 2 out of his last 5. Look, Ode Osbourne, he's a good fighter, and anytime we watch the flyweight division, one thing that you're going to see, very technical fighters most of the time, and very, very speedy and fast, and they do not get tired, and that's what you're going to see. 2 scrappers in here, but I just think at the end of the day, Ode Osbourne, he's been around, he's kind of had his time, he's had some ups, he's had some downs, he is a good fighter, but I think Ronaldo Rodriguez is good. I just think he's that good. I think he's got good grappling. I think he's got good striking. I think he's aggressive. He's scrappy. And I think that he has all of the makings to be a problem inside the flyweight division. And like I've said time and time again, the flyweight division inside of the UFC is wide open. I mean, all it takes is a couple wins, a couple impressive performances, and you're throwing yourself right in the title discussion. So this is a huge moment for Ronaldo Rodriguez, the biggest fight of his career, the biggest moment of his career. I think he shines bright. I think he's able to get this one done. But again, going to be an interesting matchup because Ode Osbourne, he's a slick striker. He's got experience. He's been in the UFC for a while, but I think Ronaldo Rodriguez rises to the occasion and gets this thing done. Moving on. We have Daniel Zellhuber and Esteban Ribovics. Now, this is an outstanding matchup, right? I know that this isn't like 2 guys that everyone's like, oh, I know who they are, right? A lot of us, in the MMA community, we do know who they are, but to the casual, they may not know. They see these names, like, who the hell is this? These are 2 outstanding guys on the rise inside the UFC. And Daniel Zellhuber, he's got really good striking. He's tall, rangy, he's lanky, and he does a great job keeping you at range and keeping you at the end of his shots. Now, he's won 4 out of his last 5, and he's going in there with Esteban Ribovics, who's won 4 out of his last 5 also. And that finish over Terrence McKinney, that kind of put the world on notice because Esteban, he's a well-rounded fighter. He's got good submissions. He's got power in his hands. He's got good striking overall. But I think Daniel Zellhuber is going to win this fight. And I think Daniel Zellhuber, not only, I mean, when you got the nickname Golden Boy, there's going to be high expectations, man, right? For Oscar De La Hoya, I know that he's kind of, like a meme at this point, but Oscar De La Hoya back in the day, man, could he box? And Daniel Zellhuber, when you come out with the name Golden Boy, there's going to be some pressure. And I think Daniel Zellhuber, he's got good striking. He's tall, he's rangy, he's lanky for the weight class. I think that he's a real problem. I think that he is a dangerous striker. The only thing that concerns me is how explosive and how aggressive Esteban Ribovics is, because we had seen Daniel sometimes bite down and decide to sit in the pocket for a little bit too long and not get, because some of these tall guys for these smaller weight classes, they don't exactly get all the way out of range and they get a little lazy with the defense because guys are a little bit shorter than them. I could see that being an issue for him in this matchup because he's very explosive. He's got power. We saw what he did to McKinney, like I said, but I think Zellhuber is going to rise to the occasion. This is a big moment for him. I think that he's able to keep Esteban at range, land some good shots, pick him apart. I got Daniel Zellhuber getting this one done. Moving on to our first big fight on the card, right? Out of where everyone goes, I love this matchup, and that is between T-City Brian Ortega and Diego Lopes. I went back and forth on this one. This was one of those matchups where I had a prediction. I was very convinced in my mind, and then the doubt starts to creep in the closer we get to the fight. But I have to stick with my gut, and that is Diego Lopes getting this one done. Look, I think Diego Lopes, that first big test for me was when he took on Sodiq Yusuff at UFC 300, right? And I know Sodiq Yusuff, he hasn't been at the top of the division, but he's a good fighter. He's got power in his hands, and we saw Diego Lopes melt him and run through him like it was absolutely nothing. And then the last time out against Dan Ige, it was supposed to be Brian Ortega on a short notice bout added to International Fight Week. and Brian Ortega got sick and he had to pull out of the fight, and it was just kind of flip and flop for Diego Lopes. I mean, the guy's cutting weight. He weighed in at 145 or 155, and then he's waking up in the middle of the night. They're giving him a new opponent, a new weight. I mean, it was an absolute shit show heading into that fight week or heading into that fight night for Diego Lopes. And then not only that, on 4 hours notice, he gets Dan Ige coming off the massage table, coming in to take a fight down at the arena against him. And look, Dan Ige, he's a good fighter. He's dangerous. He's got good submissions, and in particular, he's got really good striking. He's got crazy power in his hands. He's got a low center of gravity. He's an aggressive fighter, and that's a completely different stylistic matchup than Brian T-City Ortega. So I give Diego Lopes a little bit of a pass in that last matchup. And yes, Dan Ige started to put it on him in that third round, but Diego Lopes looked pretty good, given all the circumstances coming into this fight week. I thought he did very, very well. Not to mention Dan Ige was also in a fight camp for a different bout, so he was definitely in shape. But look, I think Diego Lopes gets this done. Now, do I think that he's able to finish Brian Ortega? I mean, I don't know. That would be absolutely crazy. I mean, if he does, he should just get on the mic and call for a title fight next. I mean, if you could go in there and finish T-City, that would be absolutely crazy, but I don't know that we get that. I think that we get a aggressive Diego Lopes, as we always see. He's very aggressive, puts his foot on the gas, starts to work the leg kick, starts to try to get you in the clinch, to launch those uppercuts like we saw against Yusuf. But I think he's going to have to be a little bit more patient in this matchup, because T-City, he's got a wealth of experience. He's been in big moments. He's been in there with the who's who of the division for the most part. He's been in title fights. Brian Ortega is not going to be feeling the moment as much as Diego Lopes is. Now, I think that Brian presents numerous challenges because, yes, Brian is only 33 years of age. People talk about him like he's 50 coming into this fight, and Diego Lopes is 29. And I understand youth is on the side of Diego Lopes. He's won 4 out of his last 5. T-City only won 2 out of his last 5. But again, T-City's been in there with basically the best in the world. And coming off of that last win against Yair Rodriguez, it was a great win by Brian Ortega. The dude's jumping up and down as Bruce Buffer's introducing him, rolls his ankle. I'm like, that's the most Brian Ortega shit I've ever seen. I'm like, are we going to get a Brian Ortega fight cancellation during the introductions? Thank God it didn't happen. He goes out there, gets dropped by Yair Rodriguez, comes back and is able to take him down and sub him. I mean, that was a very impressive bounce back there from T-City. And one thing we know about Brian, he's as tough as they come, he's as durable as they come, and despite him having quite a bit of miles on him in terms of the damage, he has outstanding jiu-jitsu. And I know that Diego Lopes is really good jiu-jitsu, but if you're going to, go off of pure jiu-jitsu, I think Ortega has the advantage. So I don't know how much grappling we see. And it would not surprise me if we see Brian Ortega try to implement some of the takedowns, because I do think in terms of offensive wrestling, Brian's wrestling has improved. And I think that he's going to try to utilize that in this fight against Diego Lopes to slow him down, because T-City's boxing, he's got decent boxing, his striking has improved. But in terms of the power, Diego Lopes is big for the weight class. He's got some serious power in his hands and in those kicks. I think Diego Lopes is able to win probably 2 out of 3 rounds here and win by decision over Brian Ortega. But if Brian Ortega can pull this off, I think you look at a potential title fight. You're looking at a potential title fight next for Brian Ortega. And if Lopes can finish him, I can see Lopes getting a title shot, because this is definitely a future star here in the UFC. And let's see who the community's picking, right? I think that this would be interesting. 71% Lopes. That doesn't surprise me. But again, a lot of people thinking that he's going to get 63% think that he's going to finish Ortega. I think that that's crazy. If he's able to do it, that would be very spectacular. So nonetheless, that's a great matchup. Okay, moving on. Co-main event of the evening, we have the trilogy between Alexa Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko. These two ladies just got done on The Ultimate Fighter. This has been kind of a third fight, bad blood, whatever, kind of fueling over, the past couple years here. And I went back and forth on this one. I've been kind of in my head on my prediction, but I am going to go with Alexa Grasso to get this one done. Now, I don't know if she's able to get a finish over Valentina Shevchenko, because Valentina is very durable. Alexa Grasso is also durable as well, so I don't know if Valentina would be able to get a finish. But if someone's going to get a finish, I think that it should favor Alexa Grasso. She has good submissions, she has good grappling, and she's a known finisher on the ground. The only issue I have for her in this matchup is she basically only boxes on the feet. Whereas Valentina Shevchenko, she's a lot more Muay Thai based, where she's utilizing knees, elbows, kicks, and if there's a weakness in terms of the striking with Valentina, while she does have good hands, it is in the boxing. I think that Alexa Grasso's boxing is very clean, it's very technical, and I think that she's going to try to turn this into a boxing match against Valentina Shevchenko. And one of the weaknesses of Shevchenko, as well as a lot of those Muay Thai fighters, is yes, they're very light on that lead leg. Yes, they have fast kicks. Yes, they're defensively sound in terms of kicks and clinch work and all that kind of stuff, but they leave their head on the center line. And if I'm Alexa Grasso, I'm working straight shots down the middle in this matchup. I think that she's going to do that. She's got good hands. She's got good timing, good speed with the boxing. I think that she's able to get on the inside. She's able to utilize her footwork, work in and out of range. I think that she's able to kind of pick Valentina Shevchenko apart with the hands. But in the event that Alexa Grasso cannot close her down and cannot get the boxing going, I think she's going to be in some trouble, because Valentina has really good kicks. She's good at range. She's good in the clinch. She's good in close. And yes, she's very strong for the weight class. But I think that Alexa Grasso's submissions on the ground are definitely something to note. It's definitely something to be aware of coming into this matchup if you're Valentina Shevchenko. But I think that Alexa Grasso is able to get this one done. I'm not super confident in the pick because both of these women are absolutely outstanding. This is a high-level fight here in women's MMA. I could watch these two go up against each other time and time again because it's going to be a chess match. But I think that given where they are in their careers, Valentina Shevchenko, she's been at the top of the mountain. She's 36 years of age, I believe. She's been around for a while. Alexa Grasso's younger. She's on the rise. I just think that it's her time. Yeah, there we go. 36 years of age for Shevchenko, 31 Grasso. Here we go. 69% of the community think Grasso is going to get this one done. Like I said, this is a very, very even fight. In my opinion, I think it's a very good one, but I think that Alexa Grasso, Mexican Independence Day, this is a big moment for her. The Ultimate Fighter, the trilogy, there was some controversy around the last matchup. I think Alexa Grasso shines bright, and I think that she is able to get this one done. Moving on to the main event of the evening. If you are looking for my in-depth prediction for this matchup, I will link that video down below. But the Sugar Show, Sean O'Malley taking on Merab Dvalishvili. I got Sean O'Malley by KO. Now, I didn't necessarily give how I think each fight is going to play out on this card, but I feel very confident that Sean O'Malley is going to KO Merab Dvalishvili, because I feel like if you're picking Sean, you're picking him because it's going to be a knockout. Because if this thing goes for 5 rounds, it's not to say that Sean couldn't sting him and pick him apart for 5 rounds, but I think that Merab, the takedown spammer that he is, and just kind of the cardio machine that he is, that tends to favor a guy when it comes to a decision like Merab Dvalishvili. But make no mistake about it, if this fight is any way close and it goes to a decision, it's going to Sean O'Malley. This is the UFC's, on the rise cash cow. This is a guy that they are trying to build. They are shoving him down the fan base's throat. And while I think it is very forced, and I do find it annoying at times, Sean O'Malley is absolutely spectacular. He is one of the best strikers we have ever seen inside of MMA, period. Not just the UFC, MMA, period. His timing, his footwork, his rhythm, his feints, the stand switching, everything that he does is absolutely spectacular. He is very, very dangerous. And I think coming into a matchup with Merab, who has really good cardio, which is his best weapon, is just shooting takedown after takedown after takedown, pushing you against the fence, wearing on you. Merab's not much of a finisher, and that's why I think that this is going to be a very difficult fight for Merab, because he's not finishing people. His striking is very sloppy. It's all over the place. Yes, he has good wrestling, but he's not doing a ton with the takedowns. He doesn't really control people. That he does up against the fence. He kind of holds you, but I think he's going to struggle to hold down Sean O'Malley. And I know that we have not seen a ton of grappling from Sean O'Malley inside the octagon, but he has good jiu-jitsu. He has good grappling of his own. We saw Aljamain Sterling struggle to take him down. I know it was a quick turnaround for Aljo. The UFC kind of did him dirty in that matchup. However, Sean O'Malley had some injuries coming into that to where he wasn't able to prepare in terms of the grappling as well as he maybe needed coming into the Aljo fight, but you would have never have known. The way that he kept the distance, the way he was scooting around on the outside, and I think that that is the reason Sean O'Malley is a nightmare for Merab. A lot of people are like, well, Merab's a nightmare for O'Malley, and I actually think it's the opposite, because Merab, he does very well when guys are standing in front of him. When he fights guys like Jose Aldo, Petr Yan, who are outstanding strikers and outstanding fighters, but they're standing in range. They like to fight on the inside. They like to fight in the pocket, where Sean O'Malley, and not to say he can't fight in the pocket, but he wants to utilize that length. He wants to utilize that range, keep you at the end of his straight shots, keep you at the end of that front kick that he likes to throw up the middle to kind of take some air out of the sail. And I think that his footwork and elusiveness are going to be an absolute problem for Merab. Merab's going to get desperate. He had a hard time tracking down Henry Cejudo before he got tired. Sean O'Malley has by far the best footwork in the division, some of the best footwork in all of the UFC, and I don't think Merab has fought anybody that is this fast and this dynamic in terms of the overall skill set. This is a really bad matchup for Merab Dvalishvili. This is a bad matchup for Merab. I don't think it's a bad matchup for Sean in terms of, yes, Merab is grappling and he has good cardio, but there's some things about staph infection with Merab. There's been a lot of BS on the side of Merab, you know, taking out his stitches with bush shears. I mean, pissing off Dana. But again, this is the fight that should be happening. I'm glad the UFC put this together. We have O'Malley. We've seen how good he has been. We have seen Merab on an absolute win streak. I like when we have guys that have earned a title shot like Merab has, because make no mistake about it, he has absolutely earned a title shot. This is a great matchup. Sean O'Malley, 29 years of age, almost 30. He's got Tim Welch in his corner. They're going to have a perfect game plan here. Merab at 33. These are two dudes in their prime going at it. We see 71% think O'Malley's going to get this done. 29% think Merab. At the time of me recording this video, I agree. I think the Sugar Show gets this one done. But if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, share it, comment your thoughts down below, subscribe to the channel, help me out. I would appreciate it. See you next time.